Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. As always, if you enjoy the stories, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Our first story of the day is by True Crime Fanatic 931. Have to clear out our vacation time? Good luck keeping the place open with no employees. I'm a social worker with a moderate-sized nonprofit compared to the city we're in. We serve individuals with disabilities in a variety, including on-site and in the community. About a year and a half ago, our executive director retired after 15-ish years. They were an awesome person, but due to some age and health problems, had kind of checked out on running the organization. The new director came from a much larger for-profit organization and seemed to feel that money is king, and the only way to be respected is to be feared. She was a monster in every sense of the word. Now, being a non-profit, our pay isn't fantastic and the benefits aren't stellar, but the one thing they were good at was the vacation rollover. We were allowed to keep 200 hours of rollover, and while it took some time to build up, those of us that had been there a while tried keeping our hours somewhere around there. This is our vacation and sick time put together. New director decides that our entire vacation policy is too generous, and one, cuts our accrual rate. I personally lost almost 2 full weeks a year, and the major kicker tells us we can only keep 80 hours of rollover. Again, I get it, COVID hit us hard. Everyone has to be expected to make some cuts somewhere, but see, the problem is, she told everyone this is the first week of October, and we had to be down to 80 by January 1st. Anything over 80 just goes away. We tried negotiating. We tried offering alternatives. We asked for exemptions by a few months. She would absolutely not hear it, and finally said the next person who asked about our PTO policy would be walked out of the building. So my coworkers and I came up with a plan. Enter the compliance. I will admit this only worked because the rest of our administration team felt the director was horrible and also lost their PTO time too. We all put in for vacation at the same time, even those that really didn't need to, because they were closer to 80 hours anyway. We literally had 85% of our staff off for weeks at a time. We worked it out amongst ourselves that we had just enough staff to ensure work was done, to keep us compliant with the state, but anything above and beyond that ground to a halt. I also need to clarify that we're not an emergency service, so the clients we serve did not lose out on essential supports. Well, our board meeting comes around in December, and the new director has to try and explain why there was such a drastic drop in revenue over the last month and a half. Apparently, she didn't give a good enough answer because the board started talking to the employees and SR management for the first time since the new director came on. Let me tell you, we did not hold back. After hearing the horror stories of some of the other stuff she was doing, the board promptly decided that having her in charge was, according to the all-staff email that got sent out, not going to lead us in a direction that would lead to long-term success and stability for our organization, and kicked her butt to the curb. I'm happy to say they found a new director who has already gone above and beyond what we could have hoped for. And our staff, and most importantly our clients, are hopefully on the path to many years of success. Well, I guess you could say the new director has plenty of vacation time themselves now. Do you guys believe that giving your employees a lot of benefits like plenty of PTO like OP's company did would influence more productivity? Or do you think it's something that gets more taken advantage of? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Linvik. Have fun running a restaurant with no recipes. So the story belongs to my father, but it's pretty fresh, and I thought I would share it here as it fits perfectly. There is a pretty long explanation before though. Among a few other things, my father is a chef. It's something he went to a proper school for and worked at for the past few years. Recently, pre all this COVID stuff, he worked at a Greek restaurant in Germany as the chef with a few kitchen helpers, which basically means he cooked everything while the helpers did odd jobs like washing dishes, peeling veggies, washing meat, etc. Due to COVID, all restaurants in Germany were forced to close for an indefinite amount of time, but the government promised to pay people an aid calculated based on your monthly pay. Hence how my father found out his boss has been scamming him on his contract. Apparently in Germany, the employer side can do everything related to the contract side on their own as long as you provide them with the proper documents, without you actually seeing the contract yourself. They just set everything up, You can start working, and they can provide you with the contract later to sign it, which most people do, but my father is sadly too trusting and never asked for it. Turned out, he was given a part-time contract with the rest of the pay being added as a bonus under the table, while still working full-time hours plus often overtime. This resulted in his COVID aid being significantly smaller, not nearly enough to survive for a month, and due to various reasons, he didn't have much spending money. When he learned of this, he immediately decided to contact and confront his employer, and he was basically told to either suck it up or quit, and that he's very much welcome to report them, not that it will matter anyway. So this is what my father did, quit, and went out of his way to come to Germany and report it. And oh boy did it matter. First fallout, my father was the only person to know all the recipes for the dishes they sold. Most of them used his own secret ingredients and people loved them. Since he started working there, the restaurant boomed in terms of popularity. He, however, never wrote those recipes down, and while the owner might have been Greek, he didn't actually know any proper recipes. He just knew how food ought to taste. Some German regions are about to open their restaurants, and this place, smack in the middle of a popular resort area, doesn't have a single dish they know how to prepare, and already a pretty long list of reservations waiting. Second fallout, my father did report them, and Germans take their labor laws very seriously. The restaurant was investigated, and they were given numerous fines, in the tens of thousands of euros range paid to the state for this, while they were also forced to pay my father all his due pay. Because legally, he worked full-time hours, proven by cameras and testimony of people in the area, as the owner tried to lie about his work hours, and officially was only paid part-time. This put the restaurant deep into the red, with a very high chance of having to close up and sell their place off to pay off everything. And initially, all my father wanted was for his employer to just cover the other part of the government aid that he lost because of his contract. I definitely feel like it was pretty darn shady to try to undercut them, especially because they most likely knew that they were doing it specifically to prevent that extra aid pay. I'm really happy to hear that OP's father did actually call them out and report them, because really, I bet all these companies that do this are just heavily banking on you not having enough resources or enough care to go after them. I'm definitely glad it worked out for OP's father. Our next story is by Checksmate787. So you want to use another store's service coupon? No problem. So this happened to me a few days ago at my dealer. For context, I'm a service advisor at a large domestic brand dealer in one of Texas's largest cities. This customer came in because her truck was pulling hard to the left and needed an oil change. I told her it might need an alignment, but I would have one of my tech look at it to see if nothing else was wrong. A few hours later, I call her and tell her that everything looks fine, but the alignment was out of spec and the tech was recommending one. She asks how much, and I tell her our alignments are $119.95 for cars and light trucks, plus the oil change. I can hear her sigh over the phone and says, "You guys are too expensive. This is why I hate dealing with dealerships. There's gotta be a coupon or something for me." Mind you, this was her first time visiting the dealer, no previous history or anything. I tell her, "Ma'am, at this moment we're not running any promotions, but let me see what I can do for you." I place the call on hold for about a minute. You know, for suspense. I pick up the line again and tell her, "I spoke with my supervisor, and we can use an internal coupon to discount the alignment to $79.95. She says, "That's it?" I say, "Yes, that's what we can do today," and stay quiet. She says, "Okay, go ahead and do it." Fast forward a few hours, she comes in to pick up the truck and hands me a coupon from another dealer. It says, "Mother's Day Special, full synthetic oil and filter change with tire rotation, and 2/4-wheel alignment for $189. I look it over and also noticed it had expired a few days prior. I tell her, "Ma'am, this is from another store and it's also expired." She says, "I spoke to someone earlier and they told me I could use it, and that the expiration doesn't matter because it's not your coupon." I asked her who she spoke to, but she couldn't give me a name. Of course. While I'm looking at this spectacular flyer, I realized that the price is more expensive than my bill. Our service for her vehicle is $74.95, and plus the alignment at $79.95. She would be at just over $150. I try to get a word across to let her know about this, and as soon as I say, "But ma'am, your total is she cuts me off and says, "Either you take this coupon or get me a manager. I'm not paying your expensive price, you guys are thieves." I say, "Ma'am, I already discounted your alignment to $79.95. Your coupon is useless. It'll be Again, she cuts me off and starts yelling, saying, "Somebody on the phone said I could use this coupon and I will, and I'm done with you." I smile and say, "Okay, you're the customer." I proceed to adjust the ticket and change the price to make the total $189.99 plus tax. "Ma'am, cash or card?" "Card." I charged her card with a smile and said, "Here's your keys, ma'am. Have a wonderful day." She stomped out of the door and peeled off. My boss then comes to me and asks, "I heard the yelling. What was she mad about?" After I explained what had happened, he couldn't stop laughing. It's been the joke on the service drive for almost a week now. As somebody who really likes to listen to what people have to say when they try to get a word in, I feel like this really goes to show you that if somebody's really trying to get a word in, especially when it relates to a transaction, it really serves your best interest to at least hear them out. But I guess they went ahead and paid the stubborn tax. And our final story of the day is by Fitzy Farseer. Boss insists corporate error is impossible and screws over the store. Before I can explain exactly what I did, I have to explain the system that was being used. I was a stalker at an office supply store, and every morning we received a computer-generated list of items that needed to be taken out of storage and put on the shelf. This list was generated by scanning 1, the number of a particular item that should be on a shelf, and 2, the amount of that item that we have in stock versus the amount in storage. So if 10 should fit on the shelf, and our system says we have 15 in stock with 10 in storage, list would print saying I need to put 5 out. There's 2 very important things to note with this system. The first is that the only way the system had of grading our completion was by detecting if an item was deleted from the storage inventory. The second is that each store was graded on how closely they followed the list by percentage. If the list said 50 items needed to go out and we managed to get 40 out, we got 80%. Corporate expected 90% compliance daily, so I'd hear from my manager if we didn't hit that. Now comes the fun part. To start, in a twist that was 100% unrelated to this issue, I had just put in my 2 weeks notice, so I had nothing to lose. Immediately after that, about a month before back-to-school season began, corporate screwed up and registered that all of our back-to-school displays were already out. We hadn't even received these displays or any information about them because it was so early. There was no way they could be out. Suddenly, the system thought we had thousands of extra displays for school supplies like pencils and binders. We had already received all of that product and it was sitting in storage. So now that the system issue said we had displays, the fill list said they needed to be filled. I explained to my store manager what happened, and she said there's absolutely no way corporate would make that mistake. I must be doing something wrong. I called local stores and spoke with their store managers. All agreed with me and said their list compliance percentages are plummeting. Told my store manager, she repeated the same line. I printed off a list of the extremely low compliance percentages in our district and showed it to my manager. She said they must be doing something wrong too. Finally, I'd had enough of her whining. So for my last 10 or so days there, whenever this list printed saying we needed to fill several hundred items from storage, I just deleted those items from storage. On my second to last day, my store manager gave me a hearty congratulations on solving the issue and told me how much better we're doing than all the other stores. By the time the displays came out for real, I was gone. I was told by my former coworkers that the store was absolute chaos because a few thousand items just didn't exist in our system, and they had to completely go through an entire store's inventory to get it all fixed. Several years later, I still find it hilarious how proud my manager was that I had solved the issue. I definitely love the idea that there was this massive problem just sitting in front of OP. OP was just like, well, if we just pretend that it isn't there and press the funny delete button, all our problems go away. It'll be future manager's problem and I won't be here anymore. As long as it isn't something that they can legally come after you over, I'd say that's a pretty good way to handle it. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.